we are going to do some core breathing. We've had our theory, we've got our setup, diaphragm over pelvic floor wide, get rid of the shifts and the twists, and just try to be tall, but not rigid. So core breathing is diaphragm breathing, and diaphragm breathing is the way we're supposed to breathe. It is what links core to breathing. So diaphragm is the primary muscle of breathing. It's also the biggest muscle in our core. So let's learn about it. It attaches all the way around your lower rib cage, front, side, and back, and a little bit down your spine. When you breathe in, the diaphragm comes down, draws air into your lungs, it fills the canister with pressure, and what you will see is expansion of the areas where it attaches, so all the way around. You will see expansion of your abdominal wall all the way around. So it expands under tension, there's firmness to it. And pelvic floor does the same thing, it expands under tension. So it doesn't turn off, but it harnesses that pressure. So for girls, if you were sitting on a physio ball, you'd feel the perineal area expand. Guys, your pelvic floor is tiny, and so you're not going to feel anything. So that's the reaction we should see when diaphragm expands. So when you breathe in, you're going to see expansion, expansion, expansion. A couple of ways you can cheat. Number one is chest breathing. This is what most of us do all day, so we really have to watch and make sure we're not doing that. Chest breathing is not using your diaphragm to get air in your lungs. It's just raising your shoulders up a bit. We tend to just get air up here, and it really overuses neck and shoulder muscles, great for getting headaches and chronic tension up there. And we do use chest breathing, but it's supposed to be when you need a huge supply of oxygen or you're under a ton of stress, that sort of thing. But we shouldn't be using it during the day regularly at rest, and definitely not for core breathing. Second way you can cheat is belly breathing, which is something they use in yoga. With belly breathing, you don't use your diaphragm, you just turn off your core and let your belly pooch out. And that does bring air into your lungs. And there's a purpose for that in this world, but it's not core breathing. So just watch those things. So when you're breathing in, this is what it should look like. And usually we have our hands here for biofeedback. It's a target. And you can see when you breathe in, quiet chest as much as possible, and expansion, my fingers move apart. You're going to have your hands at the side and the back to feel that they're moving. Good. And this is really important. We want as much diaphragm power as we can. We want as much expansion as we can, because that is that piston that drives the pressure, that fills the cylinder, that the core can react to, that's going to upright you and stabilize you. So you can't have a little bit of pressure, you need a lot of pressure thrown down there. Now, another way if you don't want to use your hands is we often just wrap tubing around here, so then you can have your hands free to do other things. Good. And then you can feel that target that you're constantly just trying to push against that tubing. Now, breathing out. This is the opposite. So instead of expanding, 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 we're going to empty the cylinder. So diaphragm is going to come back up into its dome, so we see this narrow. Abdominal wall is going to activate and empty the pressure. So you can think about your TA cues here. You can think about a zipper zipping up. You can think about a book that's open on your pelvis and it's closing. You can think about strings coming across. You can think about a corseting effect. So all the way around we should see activity and emptying. Same thing with pelvic floor. It's going to come back up and empty. So this is where you can do your Kegel. You can think about girls narrowing the flow of urine, and so it's a gentle squeeze and lift. Men, you want to think about lifting the testicles, that sort of thing. So when we breathe in, you want to get expansion, expansion, expansion. When you breathe out, activate, activate, activate. And usually if you purse your lips, that gives you a bit more resistance to push out of, and that can it helps the activation. So breathe in and expand. Breathe out and activate. Good. Couple of things to think about. So as we mentioned, keeping your chest quiet. We also mentioned before in the intro, staying not rigid. You want to stay loose. So this is where you can throw in your rigidity screams. Nose, yeses, shoulder circles, hips in and out, that sort of thing. You do not need any of these muscles to work your core or to breathe at rest. And this is about working less and being efficient. So keep checking in on those. And then we're going to start to get pickier about symmetry. We want equal expansion here as here. And often I have a twist over here because I carry kids all the time. So it's harder for me to get air in here. What I will do with some people, if you can figure out where it's harder for you to get air, you can put a tennis ball or a rolling ball right under the TheraBand so you get a little more input to expand into that area. We also want to make sure there's equal expansion through here. So the amount of expansion and firmness that you feel here when you're breathing in and out should be the same as up here. Should also be the same as back in this area. There are muscles right here that are part of the core. You need to feel pressure and expansion when you breathe in, and narrowing and activation when you breathe out. And then just coming back to trying to be tall. So really important when you breathe out that you don't crunch and shrink. When your core activates, you're going to be taller. Making sure you're not arching. If you do this, diaphragm is going to be on this angle, and it's going to, instead of putting pressure down to the pelvic floor, it's going to push pressure into your belly. And those are those pressure bellies, and that's really hard on those for guys, sports hernias and inguinal hernias and annoyed prostates and things like that. So keep coming back to the cylinder and being tall. So those things to remember. And then from here, you can just integrate this into your day. If you're driving in the car, perfect place to do it. Sitting at your desk, perfect place to do it. Works really well with squats. It works really well when you're running. And then if you want to take it up a notch, this is definitely, breathing that works with Pilates. Certain types of yoga breathing. So Ujjayi breathing works great with this. Kapalabhati breathing works fabulously with this. And then some really fun things. DNS, you can really take this into some big global muscle patterns. This is the rest breath and hypopressive, which is a super exciting new way of core retraining. So lots of ways you can take it from there. And if you do this, you should feel like you're taller, you're breathing better, you've got less muscle tension in shoulders and hips, those sorts of things. And you'll definitely be less prone to injury, and your sport performance should go up. So give it a try, and good luck.